Alright, welcome back everyone. For our next video I'm going to be showing you how to draw a car in perspective, and it's just going to be a really simple boxy style of car, like one of the big boat cars you might have seen during the 1970s. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to place our vanishing points, and my suggestion is if you're going to draw a car, either put your vanishing points up really high or really low. In other words, create a car where you're looking down upon the car from a bird's eye view, either up high. That way you see lots of the roof and the hood, or put it down low so that you don't really see as much of the roof and the hood. So in this case, I'm going to make it up high, and that way I am going to be able to see the roof. So I'm going to make a mark that's about 2.5 inches from the top of the paper. Does it really matter what the measurement is? No, it really doesn't, as long as it's consistent on the top and the bottom of your paper. So my paper is 12 inches high. I'm going to make my mark at 10 inches. So I'm going to make it on one side, I'm going to make it in the middle, and then I'm also going to make it on the right hand side. Now, if you watched the prior video on how to draw a house, you know why I made the mark in the middle, because on this 12 by 18 paper, it's really hard to make my ruler go all the way across and past to put my vanishing points off the paper. And if you remember from our past video, the reason for putting your vanishing points off the paper is so that you can have the vanishing points far enough out to where you don't have distortion near the edges of the paper. So if you remember correctly, the distortion basically happens because you are too far too close to the edges of a circle. So what I mean by that is that if you have a circle that goes between your vanishing points, that circle is going to define where things start to get distorted. So if you have a circle that's larger than the size of the paper, you're less likely to have distortion happening on your paper. So I'm going to place my vanishing points a couple inches out from the edge of the paper. I don't really need to measure the kind of elevation of the vanishing points, because all I'm going to do is line up my ruler with this point and this point that I drew and make a mark that is way off the paper right at the edge of the post-it note. So my vanishing point will be out here. And then I slide my ruler in the opposite direction, line up this mark with this mark over here. And that gives me two vanishing points that are happening at the exact same height on the left and the right. And now we're good to begin drawing our car. So the first step to drawing the car is we're going to draw one side of the car. So we're going to draw the whole profile of the car, the side of the car, going off towards one vanishing point, and then we'll draw the width of the car going towards the other vanishing point. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start by drawing a straight up and down line. This is going to be a real short one, and this straight up and down line is going to be defining the front of the bumper. So I'm going to make it down right about here, and you get to choose the height that you want for the bumper, but it does kind of help to give you an idea of how tall the rest of the vehicle is going to be. And then we're going to draw the bottom of the car. Make this kind of light because you are going to be making some cutouts for the wheel wells. So we're going to make the length of the car going towards my left vanishing point. And we're going to make it real long of a line. We may not use all of it, so that's another reason for making it a light line. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw the top of the bumper going towards my vanishing point. And it's still going towards the vanishing point on the left. And then I'm going to draw the edge of the kind of front corner of the car. So this might be where like the grill ends or where the headlights end. And that's going to be a straight up and down line. And then we'll draw the hood of the car next. Now you'll notice that all my lines are going either straight up and down or to vanishing points. And the only time that's going to change in this is when we get up to the windshield, which is going to be the next line we draw. You can choose any angle you want for the windshield. Just don't make it straight up and down. Straight up and down windshields don't work real well. And then we'll draw one more line going to the vanishing point. This is going to be for the roof of the car. Now, if you want for your trunk to be at the same height as the as the hood of the car, then you can make this line and the line you're going to have over here line up with each other. So let's draw the angle of the back windshield. As long as it's not straight up and down, you're good. I'm not exactly sure where it's going to end, so I made it a little longer than it may need to be, and I drew it lightly so I'll be able to erase it. Now I'm going to line up this line with our left vanishing point again. And that way I know where the height of the trunk is going to be. Now on one of these old 1970s cars like I'm talking about, like a Lincoln Continental or something real boxy and big and boaty, they did have pretty big hoods and trunks. So you can make one side a little shorter than the other, or you can make them both really long looking. That's your choice. Now we're going to draw the back of the trunk, and then we're going to do the back bumper. And then I'm going to draw the straight up and down line for the back bumper. Now at this point, it's still kind of up to you whether or not we're looking at the back of the vehicle or the front of the vehicle. And that's your choice. It doesn't matter to me. So this could be the front end or this could be the front end. It kind of depends on which view you want to be looking at when you're drawing the car. So our next step is we're going to be making the width of the car going towards our right vanishing point. So from each one of these corners, we're going to be having lines that go towards the vanishing point. Now, if you wouldn't be able to see the line, then you wouldn't draw it. And I'll explain that when we get to an example. So I'll start with the bottom corner of the bumper here and draw a line going to the vanishing point. I'm not exactly sure how wide I want to make my car yet. So I'm just going to make it go longer than I feel like it'll need to be. And that way I can erase some excess. So draw these lines lightly to start with. You can always darken them later. And now I'm going to go from the top of the bumper towards my right vanishing point. And I'm going to continue to make lines that are overly long compared to what I think they might need to be. Now I mentioned a moment ago how only draw the line if you'd be able to see it. So if I was to draw a line from here, it would actually be inside of the car. You don't want to make that line there unless you think you'd be able to see it through the car somehow. So we're going to just leave off drawing this line for right now, and we're just going to go to the next corner, which we would be able to see. And then we'll go down to this corner. This corner would be behind the car, so we wouldn't be able to draw it from the top inside corner of the bumper, but we can from here for a very short distance until we hit the back of the trunk. So we've now got the profile of the car and we've got the width of the car started, but we haven't decided on how wide the car is actually going to be. So I'm going to start with my bumper again, and I'm just going to kind of feel out. This would be a very skinny car, so we don't want a skinny car. Let's go ahead and scoot it out a little bit more. That feels better. Let's scoot it out a little bit more. That seems like it's going to be too wide. So I'm going to go with right about here to stop the other side of the bumper. So I'm just going to draw the same directional line that I have right here in the back. I'm going to draw the same directional line right here going towards that left vanishing point from this corner. So if you just remember, whatever happens on one side is going to be happening on the other side, then you can know that this line will be coming up from that corner. Since it's not going towards our vanishing point, it's going to be going straight up and down. And then we're going to be having this line going back towards the vanishing point between these two lines. Now, to get the windshield, that was an arbitrary angle that we chose. So you get to pick an arbitrary angle, and kind of like we did on the roof in one of our other videos, you can go like this with one ruler. Put your ruler against that angle, and then you can grab another ruler, and you can make the angles the same by looking at the gap between the rulers. So if this gap here looks the same the whole way, then we know that our line right here will be at the exact same angle or something super close to it for the other side of our windshield. And then we'll draw the roof of the car now. Just like this line goes to that vanishing point, this line is too. Now, we're not seeing where this line is right over here, But we will see this line. It will go a very short distance, but we'll see it. Remember how we lined up our ruler with this line when we went to go draw this one? Well, we can do the same thing in the back. So we'll line up our ruler with this line and our left vanishing point in order to figure where the back side of the bumper happens off in the distance. So we line up those lines with each other, and that'll determine where this little short line is going to be coming into play. And then you can get rid of all the lines that you don't need anymore that went too far. And if some of those diagonals were really light that you drew, we can also darken those up too. Okay, so we now have our basic form of the car defined, and it's just time to start putting in details. So you got to figure out where you want different items to be. So let's say we want for our headlights to be right here, and we want our grille to be in between. We can now draw those. So we can draw our headlights going towards one vanishing point. Remember that the one that's further away is going to look a little less wide. If you want to put a turn signal in there, you can put a turn signal in there too. And then we can draw. Now, to me, this is almost starting to look like the back end of the car, so maybe I'm going to make this into the back end. If I wanted it to make it look like the front end of the car, then maybe I should have thought about doing details a little differently. But you know what? We're going to roll with this. I like the way it's looking so far. Most turn signals and taillights tend to go towards tend to go around the corner of the car, and that way they're visible when you're alongside of a car as well as when you're in back of a car. So we're going to make these lines go in the opposite direction right now. And then we can start thinking about what else is going to happen over here. So we can draw, the lines for the trunk or whatever we want to draw. We can draw a symbol for the manufacturer if we want to. So if you wanted to draw the lines for the trunk, we can start putting those in. And I'm going to make them lighter because these are not lines that you really want to catch a ton of attention. These are just ones that help to show where the trunk would open at. So we've now got our trunk opening. We can put a little symbol here for whatever the brand of the car is going to be. I'm just going to make a little shape and pretend that that is the logo. Or maybe it might be the handle to open up that trunk. Who knows? Whatever. We can draw a license plate. So as you can see, it's kind of fun to start to really define things and to make more and more details and to layer up the complexity of the image. Now, we don't want the window to go the whole width of this because typically there's going to be a metal strip that goes all the way around. It helps to provide structural rigidity to the car. So we're going to draw the window. All right, so we got the back windshield. And now let's draw the side windows, and then we can maybe even draw some door handles and things like that. And then we can break it up so that there's like a front window and a back window. There might even be something called an A-pillar. An A-pillar is like a window that happens behind the rear door, essentially. So, let's see what else we're going to do here. We're going to be adding in some door handles. We'll want both of the door handles to look the same height as each other. So we'll draw this line here and this line here at the same time. The further away one will be a little bit less tall and a little bit less long because it is further away, therefore it appears smaller in space. All right, now the next thing I'm going to be doing is putting in a mirror, I would say. So with a mirror, the mirror is going to be sticking out from the car and it's going to be coming from this corner. So if it's sticking out from the car, it's going to be going and lining up with the right-hand vanishing point. Here's going to be the front of the mirror where it meets the body. And I'm keeping it basic, okay, super basic. It's not going to be like some fancy looking mirror. It's just basically a rectangle hanging off the side of the car. We're going to show a little bit of depth and space by having lines that come from the corner of the mirror towards the left-hand vanishing point. So nothing fancy. And then what we'll do is we'll have another panel just inside of that is to represent the actual mirror separate from the shape of the structure that holds it. And by the way, always make sure you're sharpening your pencil whenever you need to, especially when you're working with two-point perspective. This is a technique where a sharp pencil really makes a big difference. So there's my cheesy little mirror. And then, let's see, what else do we want to add? You know, these feel like Tesla handles. They don't really feel like they're sticking out from the car. And on an old-fashioned car, the handles do stick out. So let's go ahead and make those have a little depth and space. So I'm just drawing some very short lines from each of these three corners, going towards our vanishing point. Draw the same thing for this other door handle. And then straight up and down lines and lines that go to vanishing points to end the handles. So just like we've been doing before. All right. So we're almost done with our car. There's not many other details left to go. I can put in a hood ornament. I can put in the sides of the mirrors over here. I can show where the bumper ends. And actually, I think I'm going to put in a line for the bumper first here. So this is basically like where the bumper ends. Boom, there we go. Do the same thing over here, showing where the bumper ends. So just a little short straight up and down line, nothing fancy. And then we're going to draw some lines going this way, lining up with my left vanishing point to show where the where the headlights are. We could draw a straight up and down line between them. And of course there might be a turn signal as well. So we can make that straight up and down line a little longer and make the turn signal right there. And if I want a hood ornament, I can put it in the hood. I think I'm just going to leave it off. I don't really think it needs it. What it does feel like it needs is an antenna, because these old cars always had antennas for the radio. So you can choose to make one coming up from the center here, or you can make one coming from here. I think I'm going to make it coming from back here. Now, the only thing left to do is just the wheels and tires and the wheel wells. So the wheel well, we want them to be the same height on both sides of the car. So we're going to try to figure out first what height we want our wheels to come up to, or the wheel wells, I should say. So I'm going to choose this as being the height for the wheel wells. And I'm going to draw a line on both sides. I feel like this one needs to be just a little bit longer. So just remember, the instructor isn't always perfect either. If you feel like something needs changing about your design, change it. Don't accept something that's subpar if you know you can do better. And then afterwards, we'll draw straight up and down lines. And these straight up and down lines are going to go below the bottom of the car, because this is also going to be helping us define where the tire is too. So I'm going to draw a line that goes towards my left vanishing point, representing where the tire hits the road here. I'm going to draw the same thing over here on the other side. And now we can draw our other straight up and down lines coming down to meet it. So nobody's going to be driving with square tires, you know that. So we will be making them look round. And for anyone that did not watch the prior video of how to make a house shape or how to make a house, we're also going to, now this one feels a little skinny. This one feels like it's more of a perfect square but angled. This one feels a little skinny, so I'm going to make this line move over a little bit. But anyway, for anyone who did not watch the video of how to make a house, you can go ahead and use certain tricks in order to make a perfect circle in perspective. So to make a perfect circle in perspective, you got to follow specific types of rules. So the first thing that you got to do is to create an X from corner to corner in your box. The second step is creating a plus that goes through the center of the X. The third step is going to be a diamond that touches to the corners or the ends of the plus. I used to call this next one tic-tac-toe, but now people know what a hashtag is. So because of Twitter, we're going to call this a hashtag, or should I call it X? I don't know. And then the last step is cornerstones. So we're going to draw these steps inside of the boxes, and that'll help us to create a perfect circle in perspective. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this line right here. It doesn't need to be there. That's just going to be in our way. And so first step, drawing an X that goes from corner to corner inside of your box. Now with all these steps, you want to do them super lightly. I've got to draw them darker so you can see them on the screen, but you want to draw them lightly, because if you go too dark, you're still going to be able to see them when you're done with your drawing, and that's going to be less pleasant. Now we're going to do a plus. The plus goes straight up and down and then towards your left vanishing point, since we're on the left side of the car. And this plus goes right through the center of the X. If it doesn't, you've not done it right. The next step is drawing that diamond that goes between the ends of the plus. Make sure it really goes perfectly to each end of the plus. So make sure that it's adjusted really well. You don't want it to be a little bit off. If it's off, everything else will be off. Okay. Now, if you look carefully, you'll notice we now have 4 small X's. So these small X's are what the hashtag is going to go through. So we're going to have 2 straight up and down lines that pass through those 2 X's and these 2 X's. And then we're going to have 2 lines that go towards your left vanishing point. Now at this point, some of you are going, this seems like a lot of steps to just draw a circle. Is this really necessary? Well, basically, yes. If you want a good-looking circle in perspective, you do have to follow these rules, because these rules are what make it look perfect. Now, you can kind of fudge once you've done this enough times and be able to kind of make it work without doing this, but it does take some time before you'll kind of be able to figure out how to make that happen. So I'm going to say start by drawing these things in perspective perfectly using all these steps, and then at a later time you can kind of fudge. All right, so we've now done our X, our plus, our diamond, and our tic-tac-toe or hashtag steps. The only step left is the cornerstones. So for cornerstones, it's going to go between the ends of the lines that we just created for the hashtag. All right, now we're ready to actually construct the circle. About time, right? All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to put a line that's going to go from right here at the top of the diamond to the center of the cornerstone. From there, it's going to go to the other end of the diamond on the right-hand side. It's going to stretch all the way down to the lower right center of a cornerstone, and then it's going to extend towards the bottom of your diamond, and then to the lower left-hand cornerstone. And then to the center of the diamond over here, to the center of the cornerstone in the upper left, and then back to where you started from at the top of the diamond. So as you can see, that creates a very strangely shaped, circular-ish type of object. We're going to actually use this as being our tire. And then what you can do is you can have your fender and the wheel well kind of go like this. So that way you don't actually have to draw anything different. Okay. We can get rid of all of these lines that we drew now. Now technically that fender should be kind of overlapping over part of that tire. We wouldn't be seeing the tire right there as much. It would also be overlapping over part of the tire up here as well, and then coming a little bit past. So I'm just putting that in so it's more technically correct. And then afterwards we can draw the difference between the rim and the tire. And we can draw the depth of the tire in space. We can draw just a simple hubcap is my suggestion. Spoked wheels are harder. So we're just going to draw a simple hubcap. So I'm going to go and do a circle within this one. Instead of drawing all of those steps over again, I'm just going to try to keep an even distance from the circle that I've drawn. And that way the shape is accurate and in perspective, but a little bit smaller. So that'll be where the edge of the rim is. And I'm going to suggest just doing a simple hubcap rather than something that's more complex. So, or maybe a steel wheel or something. So I'm just going to say put in some lug nuts and call it quits on that. Okay, just make your life a little bit easier that way. All right. So if you want to get crazy and you want to do more, yeah, you can do more. You can try to draw, more of the rim and stuff. But I'm going to say make your life less work. And skip on it if you want. Do it if you want. I don't care. So there might be a rim in there. I feel like I need to place those lug nuts a little bit differently. Now, why do I have it skinnier over here? Well, because it's set in further than the edge of the tire, and therefore the tire blocks some of your view. And so that is the reason why it looks a little bit more skinny in those areas. And maybe I'll draw the lug nuts looking like that instead. All right, now to make your tire have some depth and space, line up with your other vanishing point, the one on the right side. Rotate until you get to the edge of the tire, and then you can just draw that tire going back until it hits the body, and it just disappears under the body right there. Now we'll do the same things over here on this other side. So first step, X from corner to corner. Remember, draw lightly. Straight up and down, and towards the vanishing point for your plus. Diamond goes between the corners of the plus. Tic-tac-toe or hashtag goes through the centers of those X's. We now have 4 little X's. And going towards our vanishing point for the other direction of line for the hashtag. Then all we got to do is our cornerstones. And then draw your circle. Erase the lines that you don't need anymore. Then you can draw the wheel well and the difference between the rims and the tires. Okay, we now have our finished car. From there you can draw some other details to fill up some of the rest of the space. The car itself is a complex object, so in terms of getting enough done to be able to get the grade, I wouldn't expect a ton more. I'd probably draw like the side of the street over here, maybe the center lines of the street, perhaps something like a fire hydrant or a mailbox somewhere on the sidewalk. So a couple extra details here and there, and I feel like this would be a fine piece and considered done. So the first thing I'm going to do is try to define where the side of the street would be. So it's going to be somewhere past the edge of the car, obviously. So we can line up our rulers with each other, since I've got to draw a line further out than the length of the ruler will allow me. And then draw the edge of the street. So this might be where the curb ends and where the street itself begins. So I think that it would be important then to have the height of the curb be defined, and then the top edge of the curb where it may hit some grass or a sidewalk or whatever. And I think I'm going to start with a mailbox. So I'm going to take my ruler, I'm going to make a straight up and down line. And that's our front corner of the mailbox. We're going to have the lines that go towards our vanishing points on the left and on the right, coming from the top and bottom of that line. That's defining the thickness and the width of the mailbox. This line's already here, so we don't really need to draw it twice. Now we're going to draw the other side of the mailbox. This is the back corner on the right, and then we'll do the back corner on the left. And then because the mailbox is lower than our horizon line, or the height of our vanishing points, we would see the top of it, just like we see the top of the car. I think I'm going to have to draw that line just a little bit longer. We'll see. Okay, so there's a basic cube for a mailbox. Now, does this have to be a mailbox? No, this could be one of those electrical conduit boxes that you see that people do murals on. It could be a newspaper stand. It could be a mailbox. Totally up to you. So you can turn it into something different if that makes sense for you. I'm going to probably end up writing mail on the side of this. So I'm just going to give myself a line going to my vanishing point that tells me how big to make my letters, because I want my letters to touch all the way from the top to the bottom between these lines. And if this was a bigger object, I would make these letters have thickness to them. In other words, make them, have some body. But since it's kind of a smaller object, I'm just going to go ahead and write the word mail in between. So just remember the straight up and down parts of the M and the A and the I and the L, those all still go straight up and down. So for a street sign, I'm going to have two straight up and down lines real close together, and that way we can make it look like the thickness of the pole for the street sign. Now, the street sign is going in the opposite direction from the street itself, right? You have to be able to see it while you're driving. So the street sign is going to go towards my right vanishing point since the street goes towards my left. So I'm going to make my street sign have its top and bottom. I'm going to make it a little longer on the other side. Its top and bottom is going to go towards my right vanishing point. Street signs are typically kind of a long rectangle, like a vertical rectangle. So I'm going to make sure it has enough length or enough distance between these lines in order to look like the proper shape. We'll have two straight up and down lines to cap off the ends of the sign. And then at the very bottom, we can just make a real small little semicircle that faces downwards, and we can make the numbers like 45 mph or something in there. So same kind of thing that I did with my mail, except I'm going towards my right vanishing point. That'll help to define the top and bottom of the 45 or 55, however you want the speed to be. And then for mph, for miles per hour, we'll have it be skinnier and smaller down below. So we can now have, maybe I'm going to do 55. So this part, okay. And then from there, if you want to add more, you can. If I wanted to do a fire hydrant, I can make one over here. Now, with the fire hydrant, they're round, right? And so we can use that trick that we used for the wheels. It basically is the same steps, but some of the lines would go towards a different vanishing point. However, this is such a small shape, I'm not even going to try to draw all those steps. I'm just going to fake it. So earlier I talked about how do you fake it when you're trying to draw a circle in perspective. Essentially, you go from the center, or what appears to be the center of the box on all four sides, and you come as close to the corners as you can without actually touching to the corner. So you just go like this. So stretch that oval as close to the corner as possible. All right. Now I'm not going to need the whole circle, but we'll leave it for right now. in order to figure out where the straight up and down lines will come from. So the straight up and down lines come from the outermost part of that circle. And then we're just going to draw a dome for the top. We can get rid of any lines inside of this now. We don't need them anymore. And then to draw the little pipes coming out of the side, you just got to decide upon a vanishing point. So if we want one that's sticking outwards towards the street, it's going to be going towards your right vanishing point. If we want one sticking outwards in this direction, then it's going to go towards the other vanishing point. If you want to have a sun on the horizon over here, you can do that. If you want to have some clouds in the sky, you can do that. For a sun, you can just use a circle drawing template. I don't suggest drawing rays to a sun because that might actually look a little cheesy. For the clouds, if you want clouds in the sky, you can make them line up with a vanishing point, just like we did on the house. Remember, the lower the cloud, the smaller, the higher the cloud, the larger, or the further it goes toward the vanishing point, also smaller. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this video is just about done here. So if you have enjoyed this video, think about creating one of these drawings for yourself. And just remember, don't be afraid of making mistakes. If you make mistakes, it just teaches you what doesn't work. So if something's looking a little strange, double check. Are those lines going either straight up and down or to the vanishing point? If not, that's probably where you messed up, unless you're talking about something that's intentionally going at a different angle, like the fronts and backs of the windshield and things. So have fun, enjoy yourself, and be proud of yourself for learning new techniques. Have a great day.